Hey all, Heretic here. Patch 28.6.2 drops today with a lot of changes to the Battlegrounds. Let's jump in to see all the many changes and how they are going to completely upset the meta. First, we have some quest reward pool changes. Sturdy Shard has been removed from the quest reward pool. I must say, I'm not a huge fan of this quest reward. I'm never excited to see this one, so I am perfectly happy to see it gone. Double header reward has been banned from Jandis. That makes sense. Jandis could be very sneaky with throwing a card back in the shop, then getting 2 copies of it. So this makes complete sense that it should never have been there to begin with. Stable amalgamation has been made more difficult to complete in beast games, which once again, seems like a no-brainer, but sometimes they've got to play these things out and actually see that, oops, there is a mechanic happening a way we didn't expect it was going to happen, to the volume that it was happening. So it kind of makes sense in this regard. Beyond the Mirage and Temporal Tampering have been made more difficult to complete in Elemental or Pirate games. Once again, kind of the same idea. Things they didn't quite expected. They're like, oh, well, this is going to happen with this quest reward. And it did. And then sometimes that did was far more than they expected, of course. Now we have some quest reward changes. Divine Armor has been changed. Now it is at the end of your turn, give the leftmost minion in your hand +8/+8 and Divine Shield. It's just a tiny nudge in stats, but this reward never feels great. So hopefully this will make it a little more viable. I'm still hoping there's better quests to take over this one, but let's wait and see how it plays out. Ritual Dagger got a tiny buff also. It is now going from a 4/4 permanent buff to your Death Rattle minions to a 5/5 permanent buff. Once again, little nudges just to try to make them a little more viable and make people want to play them. Mirror Shield gets the same treatment. This goes from a +4/+4 and Divine Shield to a random minion to now +6/+6 and Divine Shield. Just a little more tempo to help them get there and make you want to play that quest. We have a tiny minion pool update also. Heedless Hoarder and Worgen Vigilante have been removed from the minion pool. I don't really care about either of these minions, so I'm happy to see both of them gone. And then Felfin Navigator and Zap Slywick have been returned to the minion pool to replace them. Felfin, not excited. Kind of the same thing as the Heedless Hoarder. I don't care about this minion, but it's another activator for battle cries, so not necessarily bad. And Zap Slywick, let's face it, is just better than the Worgen because it's a little more controlled about what it's going to hit. So I definitely prefer Zap over the Worgen. Landlubber has been hit with the Nerf bat again. Landlubber is now the same exact thing as before, except it's tier 4. So it is a 4/5. The Tavern offers an extra Tavern spell after each refresh. So there's going to be less of them in the pool, and it's going to take people longer to find them. That's a very good change. Landlubber has been incredibly problematic. I wouldn't be shocked if it didn't end up at tier 5 before they find a happy home for this thing. Moonbake Jazzer got smacked with the bat again too. Now it goes from being tier 2 to tier 3, and it goes from a 2/3 stat line to a 2/5. And Battlecry, your blood gems give 1 extra health this game is the exact same. Makes sense. At 2, it was a little too good. Putting it up to 3 makes a lot more sense. So hopefully this will fix some of the Quillbore issues. Crackling Cyclone gets a little love, goes from being a tier 3 4/1 to being a tier 2 3/1. Still has Divine Shield, still has Wind Fury. This feels like a really big card to be at tier 2. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but I feel like this could be too strong at tier 2, but let's see how it plays. Wildfire getting some love also. Wildfire Elemental goes from being a tier 4 7/4 to a tier 3 6/3, working the same way where after it attacks and kills a minion, excess damage goes to a random adjacent minion. I kind of like how this is a different type of cleave compared to other cleaves, and I think that's what allows this to go to tier 3 as opposed to 4 where it was. I feel like elementals need some love, and putting this at tier 3 certainly gives you a little more time to buff it up. But once again, we have to wait and see how it changes. No matter what they seem to do, elementals just can't quite get there lately, it feels like, until you're at tier 5 and 6. In Felbor, who knew Felbor was going to be bad? Felbor got hit with a big buff. Used to be a 1/4 after you cast 3 spells, consume a minion in the Tavern to gain its stats, to now is a 3/8 after you cast 2 spells, consume a minion in the Tavern to gain its stats. I mean, this is better. This is obviously better since, blood gems count as spells. You're far more likely to want this. Still I don't know, it's faster than Firebat, but Firebat buffs your whole board and not just itself. So I'm not really sure how I feel about this. Just buffing itself? I mean, I guess if it's a menagerie style board and this is your only demon or quill board, then it has a place if you're then cycling a lot of spells. But I'm not sure I want it in my at least my demon board. Maybe in my quill board definitely, because it's far more spell casting. We'll have to see, but I think at 2 spells consuming a minion, this might have found a home finally. And Zap Slywick's return is coming back with a big buff. Zap goes from being an 816 to 1122. For those who haven't seen Zap before, Zap's ability is what sells him. Wind Fury, this minion always attacks the enemy minion with the lowest attack. This is a big upgrade over Worgen, who would attack anything he could kill. This is always going to attack the thing with the least attack. There are counters to this, obviously, so if you know someone's running a Zap, you can definitely throw out cards to mess with their plans. But that being said, this is a hell of a lot better than Worgen. I'm actually pretty happy to see Zap back. We have some Tavern spells change too, of course. Suspicious Stimulant used to be 2 gold, freeze a minion in the Tavern. If it's frozen at the end of turn, double its stats. To now, it is 3 gold, choose a minion in the Tavern, lock it in your hand for 1 turn, and double its stats. Now this is big because previously they could stack stimulants on a minion in the shop. Now, since it goes into your hand, there's no way for you to really cheese this. So this is a far better way to make this work. Yeah, there's still ways to throw it back in the shop and then change its stats, but that's going to start taking a lot of turns, and you might not have the time to go for that. But there's still ways you can finagle it to this to be powerful. Because what if you're now just alternating minions if you can get enough of these spells to make this work? So we'll have to wait and see, but this does seem like at least a much better change than from what it was. It was far too strong. Fluidity works the same way, but it is now going from tier 3 all the way to tier 5. 1 gold, swap a friendly non-golden minion with random 1 in the Tavern. Still very good. At 1 gold, tier 5 is still phenomenal. But that's a big difference from tier 3. There's going to be it's going to take you a lot longer to find them, and you have to be at a much higher tier to get this value. So this might be more playable now, at least as a balanced card, but as an unbalanced card before, it was fantastic. Floating Conch got hit with a Nerfed bat. Used to be 5 gold, get a copy of a Murloc in your hand. Now it is 4 gold, get a copy of a non-golden Murloc in your hand. For those who didn't see, before you could copy anything in your hand. So if you had a giant golden Bream counter that was 600, 600, it would give you a second 600, 600 Bream counter. Now, not nearly as good, obviously. Still has some use cases, but not as painful. That's why it's 4 gold. So, hey, if you got a Primal Fit in your hand, make 2 of them to guarantee you get a second one. There's still use cases for this. It's just not as powerful as it was before. Spite Scale Special got hit with a nerf / buff. The devs consider it a buff. I consider it a nerf because it's at tier 4, but I understand their reasoning. Now, their logic is by moving this to tier 4, you have access to more, better spellcraft, thus a buff. But we'll have to wait to see how it plays. I just don't like moving it. I was happy with it at tier 3, finding it sooner, but we'll see how it plays out. I do like this spell a lot, so I'm just happy they left it working exactly the same, just with a higher tier. A lot of bug fixes here to look at too for the Battlegrounds. Queen Azshara, Infinite Toki, and Arana Starseeker have been returned to the hero pool. We can play them again. I mean, I definitely like these heroes, so I'm happy to see them coming back. These are all heroes I don't mind playing at all, especially in the case of Toki. So this feels good that they're back. Removed Fungalmancer Flurgle's hero power from Master Wind's hero pool. This is a fantastic change, because this felt like a dead hero power every time. Sell 5 cards in 1 turn to generate a Murloc. I mean, that's great if you were already playing Murlocs, you already had a brand, and it wasn't a tier turn. Otherwise, it was kind of a dead spot. Whenever the spell came up, you never took it. Fixed a bug where Sardonath's hero power version of Untamed Sorcery could cast Unmasked Identity. Good fix. Fixed a bug where open auditions didn't work. Very good fix. Please make that work. Fixed a bug where Malchezaar, Prince of Dance's effect did not reset when using Fluidity, Swap, Lock, and Shop It. I'm not sure what they mean when they say that. I did see the bug where you could go infinite with Malchezaar, and with that was some trick where you'd send it to the shop with that, then bring it back, and it would give you infinite free rolls. Yeah, some demon boards, folks, had infinite free rolls. If you're wondering why these went away, It was because of this bug that would just let you roll literally as much as you wanted during your turn. And if you had a soul rewinder, you didn't take damage, any of your damage dealing stuff would buff to the max that it could. It was really, really broken. Fixed a bug where minions buffed by suspicious stimulant couldn't be further buffed after playing it. That's good, because that would be really annoying if you just buffed it once to a small degree and then could never buff it again. So good change there. That's the patch, folks. That's everything. Some really big stuff. We're hitting Quillbore pretty hard by attacking the health minion. We're attacking a whole other lot of outliers. We didn't really touch beasts as far as I can tell, just offhand when I'm remembering what we saw. It'll be interesting to see how things played out. They did attack a lot of spells though, and a lot of quests, stuff that needed to get balanced and get brought back into line. Now with these nudges, we'll wait and see another week and see if they're actually finally getting into a better position. The dominance of Beast and Quillbores has really been felt. I'm hoping at least Quillbores are going to drop off a little bit this week. But I don't really see a reason why Beast would, unless I'm just not thinking of one of these changes. We just got the patch now. I've just read through them pretty thoroughly, but it's going to take time to actually play it out and see how it feels. What do you think? Do you think these changes are enough? Would you like to see more? Leave some comments below. Let me know what you think. Is this enough, or is this subpar? Thanks for watching all. I hope you learned a few things, and I hope you had a good time. I'll catch you next time. Later.